Chapter 1, Sharecropping Shadows, Grandma's Hands, Empty Pockets. The house was falling apart before it ever stood a chance. A single-story wood frame home, propped up on crumbling cinder blocks, sat on an acre of Mississippi clay. Paint peeled from the shutters like sunburned skin, and the porch creaked as if it remembered every footstep that ever crossed it. This was where her story began. She never knew her father. Her mother left when she was 6, chasing a better life in Memphis but never sending so much as a letter back. So she was raised by her grandmother, Miss Hattie Mae, who worked the cotton fields from sunup to sundown. Hattie Mae was a sharecropper, though she never called herself that. She just said, "I do what I gotta do so you all can eat." They never owned the land. The land owned them. Every harvest season, Hattie Mae picked hundreds of pounds of cotton for Mr. Langford, the white landowner who promised a small portion of the profits. But every year, after deductions for seed, tools, housing, and food credit, the math never added up. The profits were always just short. Always just shy of enough. Hattie Mae kept a notebook anyway, one she never let anyone see. In it, she tracked what she should have been paid. She wrote down each pound of cotton, each bushel of corn, each gallon of milk from the single cow they were allowed to keep. By the time she died, the notebook had 22 years' worth of labor, and not a single net profit. Her granddaughter, who tells this story, was 12 when she found the notebook. She didn't understand it fully then, but something shifted inside her. She realized her family had been robbed in a quiet way, robbed in ink, in ledgers, in signatures forged on contracts they couldn't read. Generational poverty is not just a condition, it's a setup. The story of Hattie Mae is not unique. In the aftermath of slavery, many black families were lured into sharecropping agreements that looked fair on paper but were rigged by design. They were given land to work, but not to own. Tools to borrow, but not to keep. Credit to use, but not to control. Even after the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, the economic chain stayed clasped. Black farmers in the South were routinely denied federal assistance. Banks found ways to redline even rural areas. Education was underfunded. Black children were sent to schools with no air conditioning, no advanced classes, and no hope of upward mobility. By the time the granddaughter was 18, she had one goal: to get out. She moved north, got a job in a hospital, worked night shifts, saved every penny. But the shadow of poverty doesn't leave when you leave the place. It follows in the habits, in the fears, in the subconscious belief that money doesn't stay long when it visits your head. She didn't learn about credit until her early 30s, after ruining hers. She didn't open a savings account until she was 34. She bought her first house at 41 after 3 denials and one humiliating meeting with the banker who asked if she had someone else who could co-sign. Still, she kept the notebook. Framed it. Because to her, Hattie Mae's book was more than a record of work, it was a debt owed by the country. The system wasn't broken, it was built this way. The economic struggle black families face today isn't just from job loss or bad budgeting. It's from centuries of economic exclusion. From being taxed but not paid. From building wealth for others while being denied the right to build for themselves. In 1865, black Americans owned less than 0.5% of the country's wealth. In 2024, that number is still under 2%. Sharecropping may be gone in name, but it lives on in predatory lending, wage gaps, credit discrimination, and job market biases. The granddaughter now mentors young women in her city, teaching them how to read financial documents, build credit, and fight for every inch of equity they can get. "We lost land, lost homes, lost time," she says. "But we don't have to lose legacy.